We have a massive update in the case of whistleblower and WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. A lawsuit by 4 American journalists and Assange allies against the CIA advanced in federal court on Tuesday after a federal judge threw out an appeal by the agency to toss the case. As Politico reported, Manhattan-based U.S. District Court judge ruled the 4 Americans who visited Assange while he was holed up at the Ecuadorian embassy in London several years ago can proceed with their suit over allegations that the CIA stole data copied from their phones during those visits. Now, you might recall that Assange entered the Ecuadorian embassy in London back in 2012 and was given asylum while the Swedish government tried to extradite him on a rape investigation. It was Sweden's longest-running preliminary investigation ever, and police eventually dropped the probe without filing any charges. Now, a separate U.S. effort to extradite him is still ongoing.
And that extradition might be coming sooner rather than later. Human rights lawyer and wife to Julian, Stella Assange, shared that, quote, the public hearing for the WikiLeaks founder's extradition before the UK High Court will be on February 20th, 2024. It may be the final chance for the UK to stop Julian's extradition. It's now or never. Joining us now to discuss this story is film producer at Shipton House and brother to Julian Assange, Gabriel Shipton. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, good to be with you, Brianna and Robbie.
It's always such a pleasure to have you here. For folks who aren't as familiar with the contours of the CIA case, can you explain a little bit who were the 4 visitors and the extent of the privacy invasion that happened?
Well, the 4 visitors were two lawyers, 2 of Julian's lawyers from the United States. Margaret Kunstler is one of them. And 2 journalists. John Goetz is one of the journalists. He's they're all American citizens, and they're all, suing the CIA and Mike Pompeo actually for breaching their 4th Amendment rights. And what actually happened when you went to visit Julian in the embassy after 2017, when the security company that was supposed to be protecting him was co-opted by the CIA and started surveilling him, was that you had to hand over your phone, your passport, any other identity that you had. And, you were told it was for security reasons, but what was actually happening was the security company was opening your passport, taking photos of your passport, opening up your phone, taking photos of what's inside your phone, your IMEI number, which is unique to each device, and even examining the contents of your phone or other electronic devices that were left there at the front desk. Now, that information was then passed back to the CIA through this UC Global security company, and that was revealed through a huge investigation that Yahoo News did actually back in September 2021, when they cited 30 sources, current and former intelligence sources who were close to the Pompeo CIA and the Trump White House, outlining this clandestine operation that was happening in the middle of London. It wasn't only these journalists and lawyers who were being spied upon, but it was also Julian. His meetings with his doctors were recorded on camera. And microphone, they had the whole place bugged, essentially. It was a CIA black site running in the middle of London.
Incredible. So tell us more about the legal effort. So this is a lawsuit by the American citizens who were treated this way. This gets into what sort of protections all of us have against this kind of spying by our government, which I think all believe ought to be stronger, and it's a shame that they're not. But what chance do they have of prevailing here?
Well, the judgment has now said that the proceedings can go ahead. There was a motion to dismiss from the CIA and Mike Pompeo, and the judge has said, well, we can go ahead based on the electronic devices and whether those electronic devices were compromised and whether the data within them was kept and sent back to the CIA. And I think this will be very, very revealing. A lot should come out in court during these proceedings that will affect Julian's case as well, but also the American citizens who seem to be these days more and more spied on. Freedom of speech is being curtailed all over the place, whether it's social media or the national security style investigative reporting that Julian was involved in. So this, what's happened to Julian and the people around him and these journalists is just, it's just growing and growing. It's becoming this huge, huge scandal, a scandal for the Trump administration, but now a scandal for the Biden administration as they continue to pursue Julian with this unprecedented Espionage Act prosecution.
Gabriel, what can we expect of this final hearing on February 20th of next year?
Well, this is the this sort of end of the road for Julian in the UK court system. He has been waiting for this hearing since they submitted their appeal application back in July 22. So he's been waiting. It'll be almost 2 years since they submitted their application until this hearing. Now, during this hearing, it will be a 2-day hearing where two High Court judges, who we don't know who they are yet, will hear the appeal points and decide whether to give Julian leave to appeal, as in, set a further date to have a full appeal hearing on these appeal points, or whether they will reject the appeal application and order Julian's extradition. So really, it could potentially be the end of the road for Julian in the UK legal system. If those judges turn around and reject that application, then he could be extradited within 24 hours. He still has an opportunity to apply to the ECHR, but we know that the Home Secretary has already started looking at ways how to get Julian extradited as quickly as possible if this application is rejected.
Do we have any update on his physical health, his state? I know you've kept us informed when we've previously had you on how he's literally physically doing. Yeah,
look, Robbie, he's hanging in there. It's such an ordeal for us. Now, this will be his fifth Christmas inside a maximum security prison, not charged with any, not convicted of any crime, solely fighting this extradition. I'm always amazed by, his resilience and his fighting spirit. But over time, he is getting worn down and he is in a very delicate position health-wise. Both mentally and physically, and that's why it's so important that we get him out of prison and before it's too late, before he sort of succumbs to this whole process, and before he's extradited to the United States.
I'm curious if there's anything that's changed in terms of the legal arguments, the sympathies of the judges that are involved, the weight and force of public opinion, and whether that's shifted over the years that leads you to be hopeful about there being a different outcome here, or whether you think the appeal is going to be unsuccessful.
Well, I think what's hopeful is that we get another few months to keep the political campaign going, to keep that momentum that we've seen developing in the United States, particularly in the Congress. After the bipartisan letter led by Congressman McGovern and Rep. Massey that was released in October, there is now a bipartisan resolution that's been led by Paul Gosar, Republican Paul Gosar, that also has Rep. McGovern on that one too, and as well as 8 or 9 others. So there is a sort of growing movement in the political class within the United States who are, I guess, gaining more courage to speak out about this prosecution. In terms of the legal landscape in the United Kingdom, there are some positive signs around a decision regarding sending asylum seekers to Rwanda. That was a Supreme Court decision that could affect Julian's appeal, but we're not too sure about that at the moment. But the political campaign and the grassroots campaign has built incredible momentum, And we will continue to see that, as well as the Australian government, who will continue to make representations on Julian's behalf, as well as behind the scenes diplomatic efforts by the Australian government that we hope will lead to his release.
Gabriel Shipton, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both.